And now, live from the Ford Studios in downtown Canton, here is your host for the Cleveland Sports Report, Nick Brolis. Good evening to you, Ohio, and welcome to your home for Cleveland Indians baseball, your cable home for Cleveland Browns football, and your sister station for Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. You are watching the Cleveland Sports Report. Hi, I am your host, Nick Brolis, and tonight, on this latest edition of the Cleveland Sports Report, we got a little bit of stuff to talk to you about the Browns, a little bit of spring training with the Indians, a lot of Cavs news, of course, and of course, I like to just look around the entire landscape of sports and, just share some of my thoughts and my opinions on some of the other things that are going on that are not so just Ohio-based, if you know what I mean. Anyways, but I want to start out with the Cavs tonight, and I just got done watching the Cavs and the Wizards play. It was a really good game for the most part. Cavs showed up with a lot of energy, not right out of the gate, but I think it was after Washington scored their first 4 points, Mike Brown immediately called a timeout. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a head coach call a timeout 30 seconds into the game, but he did. And there was a reason for that, because the Cavs came out, they were flat, and you can just tell that they weren't ready for what Washington had coming to them. Anyways, so Mike Brown called a timeout right off the bat, and immediately coming out of the timeout, you could just see on the body language that the Cavs got the message. And they came out strong after the timeout. So I was watching the body language as I usually do, and the defense was there for the whole night for the most part, but the shots weren't falling. You're going to have nights like this, obviously. This is why I always say you can control how well you're playing defense every night. It's your offense that's not always going to be there, which is why you see so many teams try to improve on the defense. Not all are successful, obviously, especially in the NBA, but nonetheless, you just got to you got to work hard at it. Defense is something that's very hard to do because it takes a lot of work. I'm all about work. I want to make my sportscasts for you guys better every time. But in terms of the NBA and sports in general, you got to work hard to get that going. So anyways, Deng had 17 points. Kyrie came in with 15. Wall was very impressive in the point guard standoff. He had 21. And not just talking about this game, but other games too. The game against Detroit we played about a week ago, impressive win up in Detroit. But for me, the game against Toronto was very telling because we were up for most of the game, but Toronto was the team that made the big plays. They made the big shots. We lost that game 98-91, but they played a really good game. So I still don't see the Cavs making the playoffs, but I have seen a lot more improvement out of them over the last 7 games or so. So let me know what you think about that, obviously. Phone number to reach us here is 330-312-2821. I'm sorry. And for me, I want to see them continue to improve on the defensive end. Obviously the offensive end, but the defensive end has got to be more consistent. And another thing is I would really like to see Mike Brown rotate his rotation just a little bit better. It seems like he's just still undecided with some things, and I just think that he can do a better job with that. Now, on to the Browns. Oh, wait, before I forget. I know some of you are probably wondering why I'm not bringing this up. The trade for Spencer Hawes. I was a big fan of that. I liked it. I think he's a good player. He had a double-double tonight in his second game as a member of the Cavs. First game at home. He had a double-double tonight, and all they gave up was Earl Clark and was it the center, Henry Sims. And I think two second-round picks. So obviously not a big loss for the Cavs. So, with that being said, now let's move on to the Browns. And I'm sure some of you have heard by now the trade rumor that was there regarding Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, I found out that the trade was actually involving the Browns getting him, obviously, and then them sending off some cash consideration and some draft picks. But I guess he's the one that said no to it. That's a shocker, I know. So that's up with the Browns. Of course, we got the NFL Combine going on right now, and I'm going to start to watch it here starting tomorrow. Obviously, the wide receiver position, the running back position, and so on, but I'm looking forward to see. I do watch the Combine every year. It's not fun to watch, but I think there's some parts of it that can be interesting, especially for, the Browns always being so high in the draft. So you let me know what you think. Also, Twitter followers out there, at @nbrolis. Again, my last name is spelled B as in boy, Roulis. I know some of you a couple weeks ago called and complained that you couldn't find me because you didn't know how to spell my last name. So, Brolis, that's how it's pronounced. And, of course, email me, nickbrolis8404@yahoo.com. I think I already mentioned the phone number to you is 330-555-2821. Some of the people have come up and asked me about the Olympics. I wouldn't know. I have no idea. I don't watch the Olympics. I have no interest in the Olympics, and I know most of you are thinking, really? For one to be a sportscaster, you don't have an interest in the Olympics? I do not. I confess, I do not. I have watched maybe a total of 10-15 minutes of it, and that's only because I've been in other areas where it's on, and I just happen to watch it a little bit. I caught the hockey game between Canada and U.S. where we lost, but other than that, no. I've never been into the Olympics. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm so concentrated on the teams that I work around, but for me, I'm just not into the Olympics much at all. I'm not saying it's a waste of time by any means. I know a lot of people watch it and enjoy it and really get serious about it, but I'm not that type. I can watch the basketball team play, but that's really about it. And believe it or not, I can actually watch the swimming events, to be honest with you. I know that's not these Olympics, but I can watch the diving and stuff like that. So, yeah, I do find that part interesting, but for the most part, no. I do not find the Olympics interesting. But, hey, if you do, call me up, 330-555-2821. You're more than welcome to tweet at me, at @nbrolis as well, and you know the email, nickbrolis8404@yahoo.com. I'd love to hear from you guys about the Olympics. Find what you think is interesting, what you like about it. Maybe there are some of you out there that are like me. You don't have any interest in it at all, really. And hey, let's make this let's make this show interesting. Why not? Okay, now on to the Indians. Baseball season is pretty much here. Good, nice weather's come into the area. What's not to love about that? The Indians started spring training up last week. Their first game is this Thursday against the Cincinnati Reds, whom they share the facility with for the most part. And for me, I'm looking at third base this year, and I'm looking obviously at the 5-man rotation for the pitching, and I want to see how our bullpen does. But mainly, I want to see how good our pitching rotation goes, because you got Masterson, Kluber, and Salazar, and so on. I want to see how well Salazar can do this year, and I want to see who can grab that number 5 spot. I think they got 3 or 4 pitchers that are going after it, but for me personally, I hope Carrasco can get it, but he has to prove to me yet. I'm still not satisfied with what I've seen in Carrasco. I think he can be a good pitcher, but I want to see completely how well he can do. And hopefully he can get rid of the headhunter reputation that he developed last year. So, that being said, that's going on with the Indians. I'm really actually excited for this year's Indians season. I don't have as high of expectations on this team like I did last year because they lost some pieces that I thought were going to be valuable this year again with, Jimenez and, some of the bullpen people and Kazmir. Thought those were big losses for the Indians, but we're going to see. We're really going to see. Now, on to what I'd like to just also extend on with baseball. I really think that this year is going to be a very good year for the Indians in terms of the offense, because I think Cabrera is really going to step his game up because he's in a contract year. I'm interested to see if they trade Cabrera before the deadline, especially if they trade him to the Yankees. I want to see what this Lindor can do coming up, the shortstop. for the Indians, coming out of Columbus, I believe is where he's at right now. So those are what we have to talk about tonight. Obviously, the Cavs and their recent surge, although they lost tonight, it's only one loss. I want to see what you guys have to say about the Combine, and maybe even, like I said a little bit ago, the trade with Jim Harbaugh that didn't happen. Obviously, we're going to talk draft because we're in Cleveland. And you want to talk to me about spring training with the Indians? Let's do this. So, again, phone number 330-555-2821. Tweet at me at nbrolis, and email nickbrolis8404 at yahoo.com. We'll get back to you and get on these phone lines after the break.